Running Up the Score.
Jerry Napoleonello.
The Cowboys made 2 mistakes in the last 3 years. One was letting Dak take over for Romo and not having Romo come back in. And 2 was releasing Des Bryant. Superstition, screw that. Let's pick this bad boy up and walk it around the ice.
Kevin Donlin.
The NFL, like every league, is a business. And in a business, you have a job. And let me tell you something. You always have a boss. No matter who you are, you have a boss when you're in the organization. The New York Jets, you know what they need to do with their second round pick? They need to just start taking it and lighting it up on fire.
This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Join in on the conversation by calling in at 605-562-7085. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin.
All right, it's time to run up the score. Running up the score with Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin. 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. First, go to SeatGiant.com and type in RUTS Sports to save on tickets. With the football season over, what are we possibly going to do? Well, how about watch the Alliance of American Football League? A debate we'll get into today is, can the AFF, the AAF, that's going to be, you just say the Alliance. That's going to be a hard, and the XFL really threatened the big bad wolves of the NFL. Once again, we got to get into the New York Islanders. But when you talk about the New York Islanders, you have to talk about how they're in first place still. And we'll get into some NFL draft talk. We got a great show ahead of us. Thank you for joining us on this February 16th. How was the rest of your week?
It was good. The Islanders just continue.
Oh, my God.
To find ways to win.
It's unreal.
It's been unbelievable. The defensive side of the puck is like night and day in 1 year.
It really is.
And it just shows you how big, a new coach and just a new ideas of how to have a successful hockey team. Bringing in Lou Lamoriello and then Barry Trotz, and I think the whole team is just in on the whole idea.
Robin Leonard.
These goaltenders have been unbelievable. They're almost like, at this time, it sounds crazy, but they're also big parts come trade deadline. Teams are going to need guys like this.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, though.
You're right. And honestly, the only way it's going to happen is if the New York Islanders get some sort of a scorer, or maybe some sort of like a crazy threat of a shooter, on that top line. I think, Barzal is one hell of a playmaker. I think Anders Lee is one of the best players I've ever seen in front of the net. And we're talking from like a strength perspective. It's very difficult to push Anders Lee to the side. You ask any D-man in the entire NHL, and they'll tell you the same.
Well, with him, he's a big body. He's great on the power play, especially, in front of the net, screening the goalie. He's one of the best doing that. But, with the Islanders, I think I saw a stat where, their top scorer is like 66th in the league in goals scored. So, I mean, that's a little bit of an issue. We were actually just listening to a video where, they were saying that the Islanders altogether as a team are in the lower 10 in the league. But they are number 1 in goals against. So, it's a give or take, I guess. But, I really do think at the trade deadline, which is February 25th, I think they have to add somebody. And when you're thinking about the NHL trade deadline, top names that go out there: Jacob Trouba, Alexander Edler, Artemi Panarin, Jason Spezza, Anisimov, Nyquist, Zuccarello, Falk, Stone, Duchesne. The Islanders have had their name connected with Matt Duchesne the last 3 years. That would be a great addition, I think.
It would. Matt Duchene's playing really good hockey, but right now, from like a standpoint of a fan, I will be completely honest here and let you know the perspective of just most fans right now. And the thing is this team is a defensive-minded team. They play very good defense. They're very difficult to score goals against.
They are.
And come playoff time, and I've seen playoff hockey, and I know how grueling it is. It is a very, very long time, the NHL playoffs. It takes, close to 2 to 3
games.
It's it's a lot of hockey. It's almost like another season after the season. Yeah. So you talk to these hockey players, we talk about staying healthy, and that all comes into play, especially when teams are sacrificing their bodies to get in front of the puck. And a lot of injuries in the NHL will occur from maybe a block shot or just a big hit. And when you're playing good defense in the NHL, you're putting out a lot of big hits and you're blocking a lot of shots. Yeah. And your goaltenders are playing a big part as well. There's nothing to take away from the New York Islanders goaltenders. They've both been unbelievable. Lehner has been night and day, just as well as this defense. Dude, Thomas Greiss has just been unbelievable as well. This team is clicking in all cylinders. You could say the lack of goals, but let me tell you, most hockey games you're going to see come playoff time will be scores of 2-1.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
1-0.
I think it's at
0-0 going into overtime, waiting for that first goal.
Yeah,
I've watched it and I've seen it. I even remember the year the Islanders won their only playoff series. The final score was 2-1, and the New York Islanders didn't have a goal. So if you want to say John Tavares was maybe a reason as to why we, were able to win that game, there's no doubt. The guy was able to put the puck in the net. And do the Islanders need someone like that come playoff time to just get that clutch goal? 100%. But right now, in my opinion, I have a feeling that we have that already. And it's not in the mixture of just one player. You got guys that could do different things with the puck. Matt Barzal, good luck taking the puck away from this guy. I mean, it's almost like a video game out there for this kid. Anders Lee is a big, strong man. It is very difficult to knock him off the puck.
Brock Nelson, too.
Brock Nelson's a big boy. So is Josh Bailey. These are guys that, you see and people aren't understanding. A lot of people don't like Josh Bailey, but I see size, I see two-way hockey, and that's what I'm seeing from most of these players is a two-way hockey mentality. This is a defense first. We're going to get the puck in the net at some point.
Who joined that conversation with those guys? I mean, Casey Cizikas. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. I mean, I would even put him up there as probably behind Barzal as our second best forward.
No, Casey Cizikas has been unbelievable on both sides. And, it's the little things that you don't see every day. Now, I see the 2 breakaway goals, and I see how great of a game that was for him. And, it got us a big win. That win against Columbus in Columbus is probably the biggest win of the year by far. I mean, this was a game that was, could have went either way. I think the Islanders actually went into the game as underdogs on the betting margin. So, the Islanders found a way to win this game. And again, it was a defensive-minded first. Did not give up a goal to the mighty Columbus Blue Jackets, who have
silenced
let's see, are they in the bottom 10 of scoring? They're not. No. They're absolutely not. And that's the point I come across here, is that you can have all the goals in the world for 82 games, folks. But when it comes playoff game, it is a clean slate.
Oh, absolutely.
And the kind of hockey you're going to put out there for a 7-game series or 4-game series, whatever kind of hockey you're deciding to play that weekend or week long, you got to have that mindset of just not being able to give up goals. You can't make it easy on a team. They have to earn their goals. Well, and right now the Islanders are doing a great job of it mid-season. So hopefully it just continues to get better and the Islanders can find themselves in a good spot come playoff time.
You know what's going to help them come playoff time? Playing the first round in the Coliseum.
Yeah, I saw that report.
I'm excited.
It's very exciting, but it's also very troublesome in a way. It's if you're going to put it at the Coliseum for the first round, you might as well just do it for the whole time. Well, obviously there's contract concerns with Barclays, but Barclays trying to get out of that contract this entire time.
And I don't know if it's totally on Barclays. I think it's more of
the NHL, actually.
Scheduling, also with the Coliseum. The NHL doesn't see the Coliseum as a major league type of arena. So, it all comes down to money, obviously. The NHL doesn't think they're going to get enough money out of them being, playing a playoff series at the Coliseum. So I think it was just more of the fan outcry that, basically the Coliseum is part of the Islanders. I mean, you could just see what it brings to that team when they're playing on Coliseum ice. It's just it's louder. The fans are on top of the ice when it comes to the Coliseum. That's always what I loved about the Coliseum was you're so close to the ice no matter where you sit. There's not a bad seat in the house.
It's also because it's very small.
It is small, yes, absolutely. But you know what? It's troublesome for other teams too coming in there because it's so loud. I mean, when we were in the playoffs, we had that one series against the Penguins. I mean, people were talking about how the Coliseum was the loudest out of all of the arenas in the playoffs. That's something that, as an Islander fan, you pride yourself on, first off. And second off, it's exciting. It's exciting. This team, we've been, as Islander fans, we've been waiting for a team like this, especially for the younger crowd, me, yourself, guys that weren't around in the 80s. We weren't able to see Billy Smith. We weren't able to see Bossy. We weren't able to see Trottier, like none of them. So, all you hear, especially if your parents or, your father is, an Islander fan, all you're hearing about is how great the Islanders were. Going to, Hempstead Turnpike and going for the parade and everything. That's, as Islander fans, as young Islander fans, that's all you want. You want to be able to experience that. So to me, I think this is a team that, should get Islander fans excited. This is a team that, maybe if they add one or two pieces, I think this team could really, fight for a cup. This is going to be one of those teams that nobody's going to want to play against in the playoffs, especially when you have a double-headed goalie juggernaut. When you got the number one and number two numbers-wise goalies in the league. I mean, it's unreal, and I'm excited as an Islanders fan.
And you have every right to be. I mean, this is a very exciting time, and no Islander fan can, someone of my age at least, and I'm 30.
That's what I'm saying. It's I'm 28.
I can't remember a time being in first place this late in the season, and you want to make this more of a regular thing. You want this to not just be a one-year type thing. You want this to be more of a consistent basis. I mean, I've seen other teams do it for years. I've seen this.
I mean, look at Chicago. Chicago was one.
The Penguins and just
the Kings.
The list, the list will go on for teams that have just been consistently a playoff team for years.
Yeah, it's just young teams.
Just because of having a good foundation and understanding how to play this game the right way.
Yeah.
And to play this game the right way, you really got to be on the defensive mind for the most part, because come playoff time, that's what it comes down to. It is very difficult to score goals in overtime.
Yeah,
I mean in playoff time. Ask Ovechkin. I mean, we're talking the greatest shooters, and there's no doubt Ovechkin will be a Hall of Famer because of how great he is. And you can go ask him how difficult it is to score goals come playoff time. He's been on the Blackhawks the Capitals for a very long time. He understands all these playoff games that they had over the years.
Absolutely.
Everyone was talking Ovechkin's one of the best scorers ever to live. But he can't win in the playoffs, and which means he's having a difficult time doing what he does during the regular season come playoff time. And it's because teams have a completely different mindset on how to play come playoff time. The importance of not giving up a goal can't be stressed any farther. So when you're watching the Islanders play the kind of hockey they're playing, you legitimately are excited for many reasons. One, it makes John Tavares look absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even think I can use it. It makes him look horrible.
Yeah.
Let alone it made the entire New York Islanders organization look horrible all at the same time, and for many reasons. These reasons included, folks, you just gave up the most goals in the entire National Hockey League last year. And just because of the change in coaching, the change in management, this team turns into a team that is a defensive juggernaut in one season, folks. And one player left. And it was no doubt their best player. He is a great player, John Tavares. Every Islander fan will tell you. He is a great player. He puts the puck in the net. He's got great knowledge of the game. His hands are unbelievable. He's got great handle on the puck. So when you lose somebody like that, I mean, folks, all these specialists and experts of the NHL,
they had the Islanders in the bottom.
Of course they did, as well as I.
I mean, everybody did.
As well as I, and I'm an Islander fan, folks. So
nobody really saw this coming.
It just shows that the same team that it seemed couldn't keep the puck out of the net last year in one season is able to turn it all around. It's remarkable. It's a great story for the New York Islanders. I'm hoping they keep it up. I have no doubt that they will. These guys are sold into the foundation of what they're trying to do right now. It's a defense mind first. Let's keep the puck out of the net. We'll find ways to score. Casey Zizekas, all it takes is one breakaway. Boom, we got the lead. We can shut them down from here on out. And they would have. Won the other two goals.
What it comes down to with the Islanders is just structure. I mean, structure from starting up high down to the players on the ice, and that's the biggest difference in this team. I mean, that's really all you can say. It's just structure. They actually have a structure now. I'm excited. As I said, the NHL Trade Deadline is February 25th. You're going to see top sellers as the Oilers, the Rangers, the Senators, the Kings. Those are the teams that everybody.
I feel so bad
for the Rangers.
No, I don't. I'll never feel bad for the Rangers. I think that's just that will never happen. I don't think I'll ever see myself ever.
No,
it's crazy that you say that, and then I'm thinking about it, and there's just no doubt I would never feel bad for the Rangers. I'm talking the Edmonton Oilers, and not really Edmonton Oilers, but I don't feel bad for them at all. They're
Connor
pathetic.
McDavid.
I feel so bad for Connor McDavid. I really do. And it's like, as a greedy Islander fan, that's who I want.
Oh.
And I would give up 3 first-rounders.
Oh, yeah.
Kiefer Bellows, who is a up-and-coming star for the New York Islanders. He's a very good player, a good prospect right now. And I would even give away 1 roster spot. Maybe even someone like Beauvillier. Or Brock Nelson, who's going to be off contract. I mean, you got to send this team everything you can. Let this team have a chance to rebuild, because clearly having the greatest scorer in the National Hockey League is not making an impact at all. It's getting them an extra 15 wins a year. Right now, they're 2 games under 500, not even including overtime losses. I don't even include them into the stat there, because there's just no reason. But they're not good.
No, they're not.
And this kid is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. And to watch him and Barzal on the same team would just be magical. It would be so fun to watch.
That would be ridiculous.
The speed would be there. And the thing is, people talk about this with the NHL being a new league. Oh, it's got to be faster. You can't be slow anymore. You can't be big and slow. You got to just be able to be fast. All these guys are going right past them. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been watching hockey for a very long time. I watched a lot of speedy guys in the league. Very good, talented players. Fast. Very difficult to check. But I promise you, it takes 1 hit.
Oh, yeah.
1 hit to open their eyes. It always has. You're probably going to get retaliated by a bigger player on their team. It always happens. Yeah. And that's what I love about the Matt Martins of our team and the Anders Lees of our team and the Brock Nelsons of our team. These are big guys that are willing to fight.
Cal Clutterbuck.
These guys will fight for their teammates. And you underestimate how important that is for a hockey team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You legitimately... you need to have good structure like that. And that's part of the structure formation, not just even with the coaching and what they're having them do on the defensive side. The actual structure of players. It's just my phone.
All right. Just to look at, the fourth line of this team. I mean, you have Casey Zizekas, Cal Clutterbuck, and Matt Martin. Now you look at that line and you say, "Oh, there's no way they score goals. They're just out there to hit." No, this team, this line could do everything, and it's funny because we lost Matt Martin for what 2 or 3 years, and that fourth line was never the same after he left.
And Matt Martin, and he just fell off. This is what I mean when I talk about just having the chemistry.
Yeah,
and Matt Martin couldn't find chemistry with anyone in Toronto.
No,
found himself he found one kind of chemistry on the healthy scratch chemistry. Yeah. He was getting scratched every day by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Toronto Maple Leafs weren't a bad team last year.
No, and you know what it is? It's kind of, he has a special way of playing hockey. When you look at Toronto Maple Leafs, they're all about, flying around the ice and scoring goals, and Matt Martin's not that.
When it comes to Matt Martin, this is a statement I will make, and
I love Matt Martin.
Each player on a hockey team will have a role.
Absolutely.
It's like any other sport.
He's the bruiser.
Folks. And, when you watch him play, you see the things he does that are good. And what I see as that entire fourth line as a combined is just hustle.
Absolutely.
Hard work. Legs never stopping while you're on the ice. And I've seen Islander teams, more specifically, have games where their legs just aren't underneath them. Yeah. And this fourth line looks like their legs have been underneath them for almost every single game this entire season. And that goes for a lot of the guys on this team. I think the one idea with the New York Islanders, it is not a lack of effort. It is not a lack of, putting out everything you have on each shift. You have to play the regular season if it were the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what you get out of every team that come playoff time. You're going to get a team full of guys where the legs just don't stop because it can't stop because there is no light at the end of the tunnel.
Can't stop, won't stop.
That's what I'm saying. There's no light at the end of the tunnel if you can't keep the legs moving. Yeah. And that's when when you hear analysts say, "Oh, these teams bring it to another level." Yeah, they bring it to another level, folks, because they keep the legs moving. They're
Absolutely.
Working. Part of hockey is it's crazy that these guys don't make more money.
Oh yeah.
Because the amount of I can't even explain it. It is a very tiring sport. And when you're continuing shift after shift, giving it your all, and that's what I'm seeing out of the New York Islander players. It's fun to watch. It's been a pleasure because you love watching guys work hard and the benefits start to ream in because of the hard work. You like to see that in any sport, no matter what. NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. You put the hard work in, you see more of those curveballs and throw more of those at practice, and all of a sudden come game time, you're able to start to hit that. It's a great feeling. Not just for the player, but for the fans of that team as well.
Absolutely.
And it goes for the same way with the New York Islanders. The hard work is there for this team. They're playing for this head coach. Now, is it a debate whether or not they played for Barry Trotz as opposed to Doug Waite? That really is a completely different, mindset. I think the structure was all different. I think what Doug Waite wanted to do is he wanted to bring that extra D-man into the offensive zone, try to keep the puck on that side of the ice, because that's where the good things happen. And the New York Islanders are just finding the right time to do it. Guys are covering where they need to cover. They've been aggressive, and at times they know when to just back off, get the puck deep. Good times to make line changes. The structure's there. It's fun to watch. It's exciting, and I don't see a stopping to it. Right now they're playing playoff hockey middle of the season. So when you hear about teams going to another level, basically they're just working harder. They're basically skating. Their legs are underneath them. It's so much easier to play this game when your legs are going. I'm telling you, the game comes so easy, and then all of a sudden it slows down. This is a problem that a lot of young NHL players have, is that the game is so fast. And the game is so fast because you're not moving your legs quick enough right now. And that was the thing about watching someone like Barzal come in at a young age. The legs were there, and they did not stop from day one. And this game started to become slow to him immediately, which you never see happen for a young player. And that's why you see when guys get drafted, it takes them a couple of years to get up to this level. It's rare that you see a young kid come in and right off the bat is an impact. It's because it's a whole nother level of getting your legs to work. When you're an NHLer, you're earning your money. And it has never been more better of an example than the New York Islanders this season. And the way they're basically earning their money. Zizekas a new contract. You know, you had Clutterbuck on the contract. These guys make a decent amount of money. You know, I say decent. They're making millions. Folks, they make great money.
Yeah.
And it's because they put the hard work in. And when you watch what the Islanders have done this year, it has been nothing short of spectacular. It's fun to watch. I don't see it stopping whatsoever. And, you know, bring on the playoffs. That's basically,
I know. I'm very impatient when it comes to getting this team into the playoffs and seeing what this team can do in the playoffs. But, you know, it's... You know, I don't know. You got to wait another 30 games or so. So just sit back and enjoy what you're seeing with the New York Islanders. Other than that, I mean, as I said, you have the top sellers: Oilers, Rangers, Senators, Kings. I named off, you know, top players that will probably be on the move come the trade deadline on, I think the 25th is Wednesday, I want to say. But moving on, you know, you got the pitchers and catchers, you know, in spring training now. And yet Bryce Harper and Manny Machado are still on the market. And, you know, I don't know if you watch the show Wake Up or whatever. It's, you know, Get Up with Mike Greenberg.
No.
Well, he brought up a good point when it comes to Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and I have a clip from it, and this is what he had to say. I want to make sure that I'm going to play the right clip.
Right now, as we speak, there are two things going on in baseball that you should be aware of. One of them is that pitchers and catchers are reporting, and the other is that all 30 major league teams are voluntarily missing out on what could be the greatest bargains in the history of the sport. Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. Together they've combined to make 10 All-Star teams and hit 359 home runs. Did I mention neither of them is yet 27 years old? And they win. The Nationals franchise made the playoffs 4 times with Harper after missing it 30 years in a row. The Orioles reached the postseason 3 times with Machado after missing it 14 years in a row. So these are franchise-changing players. The reason that mega contracts have not favored teams historically is because, with the exception of A-Rod, players this good never hit the open market this young. And still, teams are trying to convince you they cannot afford them. I don't buy it for a minute. For the 16th consecutive year, Major League Baseball saw record revenues. In 2018, they exceeded $10 billion. Every team could afford these guys if they wanted to. Now, I understand the game has changed. I understand that every decision has become a calculus equation using cost-benefit analysis. So here is mine. Last year, at this time, J.D. Martinez was still a free agent. The Red Sox signed him. They won the World Series because of it. Bryce Harper and Manny Machado are both 26. They are both trending towards the Hall of Fame. I, for one, do not need an algorithm to tell me that signing them is the right thing to do.
Again, another guy that I echo every part of it. I don't understand how these guys are still on the market. And I mean, I guess, you know, I do understand that the $300 million mark. But just, I mean, I don't know how. You know, J.D. Martinez, great player, but he's not Bryce Harper or Manny Machado.
Did you see the year that J.D. Martinez had for them?
Absolutely. No, and listen, like I said, he's a great player. But we're talking about Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, top probably 5 best players in the league, and they're 26 years old. These are franchise players that are on the market right now that you do not have to trade anything for.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Baseball is a team sport. You can't have people that are bigger than the game. And right now, these are 2 names, like Mr. Greenberg just emphatically mentioned.
Yes.
Are on their way to the Hall of Fame at 26 years old. they're bigger than the game when you're talking Hall of Fame talk at 26. And he's right. These two players have led to their organizations getting to the playoffs and being a, difference maker in the organization. I guarantee you the whole Washington, had nothing to do with the seasons that Ryan Zimmerman was throwing out there. It had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with Steven Strasburg and the starts that he did have. It had nothing to do with going to pick up Gio Gonzalez. It had nothing, and he didn't even wind up being a great player for Washington either. You can't just put the credit for success for one player in Major League Baseball. It has never worked. I've never heard of a team that won a World Series because of one player.
Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, Alex Rodriguez led a team to the World Series?
2009 was pretty spectacular when it comes to Alex Rodriguez.
I've never been a fan of crediting a single player. Someone had to throw pitches in that bottom half of the inning.
No, listen. But you could say that about every sport.
You can. That's why when you ask a player for $300 million, it's unheard of. And like I absolutely agree with every baseball team holding out on signing these two because the agents for these two are being absolutely obnoxious. $300 million is never deserved for one player. I mean, you see the kind of effect it had on Alex Rodriguez and the kind of pressure, and then look what came into talk after that. And I don't even want to get into the PED talk. We had enough of that talk last week.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you can't just go out giving people $200 million, $250 million. Sir, you're a part of a plan that we have to win a World Series. You're part of it. You're never going to be the full part of it, because that's what you're showing by $300 million. You know how many people you can sign with $250 million? You could sign 5 different prospects or 10, 15 different prospects that have a high upside at 20 years old for $250 million. Probably only half of that or a quarter of it. Baseball is changing. Teams have a different mindset. Like you said, it's, there's a whole math equation on how to develop a World Series winning team, because there are teams out there that have no choice. There are teams out there that their entire team's salary won't even match Manny Machado or Bryce Harper. So when you talk about these teams holding out on signing either one of these two, and it's crazy how neither one of these two have been signed, it doesn't sound too crazy to me at all. It sounds like, let's come down to earth. You're a part of a plan to win a championship. You are not everything to this team. You're not going to be, I hear this franchise player talk. Folks, we just talked about the New York Islanders for about 20 minutes, and I thought my franchise player was John Tavares. So I don't really know if this is, and I understand it's a different sport, but I mean, I'm pretty sure baseball is much of a team sport as hockey is, if not more, much more. There are times where, Bryce Harper's sitting in left field, and there's someone else standing on a mound that is much more important than anything your $300 million in left field is going to give you.
Now, before we go to a break.
Sorry I got really loud there.
No, it's all good.
I'm sorry.
Before we get to a break, being that we're still in the baseball conversation, the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to play a series in London. Now, I have a certain opinion about it. I'm not a big fan. I haven't been a big fan of the NFL playing in London and all those. With this, especially just it being the Yankees and the Red Sox. Now, I know how big of a series, that could be, and that's a rivalry that if you were to showcase your sport to, any other country, that's the series that you want to push. But the Yankees and the Red Sox, to me, as being a Yankees fan, they play each other, I think it's 19 times in a season. every game is big when it comes down to the Yankees and the Red Sox, especially this year because these two teams are going to be fighting for first place.
How do you know that?
And
because they count their salaries,
because
folks.
Now it comes down to who's losing 3 home games now. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And it's the same thing when it comes down to the NFL. You know, you go to London and now you lose a home game. The away team doesn't care, obviously. But the home team should care. You're losing a home game. You're going to a field that you're just going to have a bunch of people rooting for baseball or rooting for football. We're not going to put a team in London. It's not going to happen. Stop bringing our sport to London. Stop bringing football to London. No one cares.
Well, you need to
but
talk,
when it comes down to it, it's just money.
You need to talk to the commissioners of these professional sports because they're the ones promoting it because they want the game to be bigger. It is an American sport, but let's make it a world sport. And at that point, you really have to blame the commissioners. That's it. I mean, you have to. Your statements directly need to go to the commissioner, and it needs to be a widespread from fans. Me personally, I could care less. I couldn't because you know what? When it comes down to it, the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, and you're right, these games do matter, and they're very important. And especially in the NFL, same thing, that you're losing out on a home game, which is very important come a whole season. But, I mean, if you're basing your team's performance on one game to be everything in the world, then, they play 162 of these bad boys, Jerry.
No, absolutely. But, if it was against any other team, I think it'd just be a different. I wouldn't really care.
The ratings would be a lot different too, and they know that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, it comes down to the Yankees and the Red Sox. You're counting how many wins each team gets because that's how big they are. And not to mention this is a hefty travel for both these teams, especially for teams that are playing 162 games. This is baseball. Every team plays 162 games. Over what, a 5-month span? You know, you're not having that many days off when it comes down to, weekly workload. You know, football, they try to put the bye week after, the teams that play in London. They try to give them that bye week. But
week.
With
$250 million. You don't need no bye week. You have an entire off season.
They're still human.
Exactly. That's why you don't sign them to $250 million. I'll never stress that enough.
I understand what you're saying, and I know I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. It's just going to keep going up. It sucks.
No, one day it's not going to, and I think today might be the day because right now we're looking at 2 stars of Major League Baseball, franchise players, and I put that in heavy quotations because you're never going to win a World Series on the basis of one player.
Yeah.
Ever. So to put that much money out there for one player, it's just not logical. I think the agents of both these players need to come down to earth. These players need to come down to earth and get themselves to training camp before it's too late.
Now, I'm going to tease something here. I'm going to ask you a question. You're not going to answer it until we get back from the break. My question is this bad for baseball? Okay, I want you to mull that over. We're going to go to a break. You think about it. I want to hear your answer. When we get back from the break, remember to go to SeatGiant.com to save on tickets. Type in RUTS Sports as the promo code, and you will save. We'll be back, and you'll get Kevin's answer next.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Jerry Napoleonello, host of Running Up the Score. We are live once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we hit on all the top headlines in the world of sports. You can also find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and those of you that like the visual aspect, check us out on YouTube. Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach. A fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
Ice water turn Atlantic. Night calling in a phantom. Told them, hold it, don't you panic. Took an island, felt the man.
This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Join in on the conversation by calling in at 605-562-7085. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin.
Pull up in a demon on guard, looking like I still do fraud.
All right, we're back. Sorry for the whole, problem. As we said, that one, was it 2 weeks ago? Something goes wrong every single time. Something absolutely goes wrong. This time
it's the commercials.
The commercial doesn't play. So I apologize for the silence, I guess. But
sometimes that's good.
Sometimes, okay? Yeah, sometimes it's good. You know. But before we get into this whole NFL, AAF, XFL talk, I asked a question before we went to the break, and I understand that it was about a minute and 15 seconds ago. So he had time to mull it over. And basically I asked, is Harper and Machado not being signed and still on the market right going into spring training, is this bad for baseball?
My perspective is just, when you watch these two guys being out for a long, as far as they are, they're two great players. And, I heard what Greenberg was saying. They are two Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. Their numbers don't lie. And they play very well. And like they said, they led to a different amount of success for their organizations. They led it. They weren't all of it. And what you're asking for right now is all of it. All the credit for it, with all the money that you're asking. And it sucks for baseball. If that's, that'll give you the, that's my answer. And it's on the basis that these are two great players. People want to watch these two players play baseball. I don't care if you're even a Met fan. And the Washington Nationals are coming into town. To be able to watch a player like Bryce Harper is a privilege. Any real baseball fan will let you know that. When the Boston Red Sox were coming into town, Pedro Martinez, and we're going years back. Yeah. He's a great player. I wanted to watch him pitch. I'm a Yankee fan. I root for the New York Yankees. I wouldn't mind to go see Pedro Martinez. It goes like that in every sport. There are always going to be stars of these sports that people come out to watch because it's a privilege to watch because they really are incredible in that regard. They're just not $250 million, $300 million incredible. Because a team's not going to win with you. And then what kind of legacy are you going to build when you can constantly making a lot of money your whole career and your team sucks every year? Look at Alex Rodriguez. It finally hit him. And he came to the New York Yankees. Pretty smart move if you want to win a World Series.
And he did.
But when he went to the Texas Rangers, they were a god-awful team, and you could not put blame on the organization at that point. I mean, slight, because he should have never handed this man that much money. But then look at the rest of your team. And it takes nothing away from his teammates. It's just there was a limit on the amount of money that could be spent on the remainder of this team. And there was a lot of talent in Major League Baseball all those years. You have to be able to match that. You got to match the talent with your own talent. And you can't just have one player. Because unless that player is Babe Ruth, there's no reason to have to pay somebody that kind of money. Because you're not that much of a difference maker. Are you a difference maker? Guaranteed. The numbers don't lie. But there's more to it. You need help. You need that pitcher. You need that closer. You need that setup man. You need that second starter, that third starter, the fourth starter, and the fifth starter, who are all making money just like them two. So, what my point is that this is a team sport. No one listen, I think both these gentlemen deserve at least $100 million. They've earned it. And they're great players. But even at that number, it's just, again, the legacy you're going to build is going to be, you're going to make a lot of money because you are a star of Major League Baseball. But your team is at the bottom of the standings every year. Texas, I wouldn't even say has, maybe when I put to it, the most publicity, I guess. It's nothing like the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, LA Dodgers, all these teams. They're up there. But when you're losing on a team with a low market like that, it doesn't make it, I guess, too concerning. Robinson Cano left the New York Yankees. He went on to go play with the Seattle Mariners and made a lot of money in the process.
How did that work out?
I didn't hear it. But you know what the issue is that, was it national news? Hell no. Excuse my language, but no. It was not national news. No one cared. It was in Seattle.
Yankee fans cared, though.
Well, yeah, I understand, but when it came to just baseball as a whole and just being an average baseball fan, the concern just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Maybe for Seattle fans and for the New York Yankee fans, but that was it. Personally, I think Robbie Cano, whatever legacy he was trying to build, did he win a World Series with the New York Yankees?
Yes. 2009.
Had already won one. It's time to make money. Neither one of these two on the market have even won a World Series yet. So you could see now the kind of player that both of them are on the basis that neither one of them are signed now.
It's going to be interesting who does sign them. But, going from that to the NFL, something happened in the NFL, actually, a signing of some sort this last week.
Oh, well, speaking of money, you want to talk about money and heavy amount of money that players are demanding.
Well,
we could transition to the NFL real quick, and I don't even know why we put this man with the NFL right now in connection. Colin Kaepernick asking for $20 million.
Well, that's ridiculous. From a league that nobody makes $20 million. All right, let me tell you, nobody in the Alliance of American Football is making $20 million. But this is where I came to a point where I said, you know what? He doesn't care about football. Because if he did care about football, he would have went to the CFL. He would have tried out for this AAF. He would have, played on a team. He would have started. They have Christian Hackenberg as a starter in this league. Trust me, Colin Kaepernick would be starting. But, before we even get into that, I was actually moving on towards Kareem Hunt being signed by the Browns. That was interesting. I hope the Browns know what they're, in for, really. But
you get a cheap player, it'll be cheap to cut him. I think it's sign them before the whole thing comes into fruition. I think it's actually a pretty decent move.
No, absolutely. Listen,
and they're out for blood too in that division.
I tweeted out, skill wise, one of the best running backs in the league. So going by that, great move. But everything else, PR, it's a nightmare. I feel bad for the Browns PR, team, because they're in for it. But let's talk about this Alliance of American Football. We didn't get to talk about it last week. Their first week was last week, right after our show, actually. Now, if you haven't watched the first week, you don't really know, what the differences are and everything like that. I have a few differences. In the Alliance, there's no kickoffs. So every team starts at the 25. There's no onside kicks. So for a team that wants to, they call it onside conversions. So basically, you go up. If you're down by 17, you can try an onside conversion whenever you want. Under 5 minutes, any team can do an onside conversion. The onside conversion is you have to convert a 4th and 12 on the 28-yard line. If you convert a 4th and 12 on the 28-yard line, you get the ball back. That's your onside conversion. There's a few other things. Like I said, the kickoff, you start at the 25. I mean, those are kind of like the biggest ones. I think the most beneficial for a fan was having the replay judge with a camera in front of his face or her face. So basically, if there's a challenge, you're listening to the whole conversation between the replay judge and the referee. So I think that's, it's nice to have that kind of transparency between, the league and the fan. Especially, I think it was the first game they had it, and they had the camera on the woman that was doing the replay, judging. She first comes down and says basically, it's not a catch, and she's going through, and she's just walking herself through it. Just basically saying, all right, his elbow is down, the ball was moving, it's not a catch, this, that, and she's going on and on. And then all of a sudden she watches one version of the replay and she goes, wait, that ball didn't move. And she just changes her whole tune. Right away, she goes touchdown. And that was the call. So the transparency of seeing exactly how it's done, what is said, I think it's awesome for a fan. Now, some of these games play on CBS, some of them play on NFL Network. So many of you may be asking, basically what I have the title of the show today. Could the NFL be threatened? Now, I don't think they're going to be threatened by the Alliance. I think this is a league that's going to help the NFL, just because it's going to be a tryout league. They're going to try out different rules. They're going to try out different things, and you're going to see how it's taken in the Alliance of American Football.
I don't think anything's going to threaten the NFL. I think the NFL's at another level. I think the AAF, like we had talked about off the air, could turn into maybe like a kind of like a
minor league.
A minor leagues for the NFL, which is good, and obviously they're making the game safer by taking out these kickoffs and all these other. I mean, obviously I saw a couple of hits in those games that penalties weren't called and stuff, but you know what? That is football.
But they were clean hits.
They are, and that is exactly, and that is football. The NFL obviously needs to protect their players. But this is all going back to a humongous backlash that goes all over Twitter. And you just got people out there that are just, very, very concerned about these kind of things. And it's understandable. But in order, to voice it to such a degree that it forces the NFL's hand on certain aspects, it's just at another level. And, it all comes with, like, the hits on the quarterback. It is very difficult to hit a quarterback now in the NFL. I mean, how do you play defense?
Yeah.
We talked about how the 4 teams that were in the major, contention were all offensive teams. Why do you figure, folks? This is what the NFL had turned into. So when it comes down to that credibility for the NFL, it's going down. And with the XFL coming in, I think it's just at another level of, contact, and it's, I remember how it was when they first tried to get it. And I just don't think it was brought out successfully. I mean, just like their brand in overall.
Well, that's the thing. I think Vince McMahon, first of all, he has more money now. It's
a good start.
He's basically, he's had, because I think this came out the XFL first came out in 2000 period. So when it does have, its next season, it's going to be 2020. So it's 20 years since the XFL first came back out. All right. So I think he learned a lot, from that first season of the XFL. I think he's learned a lot, and he's been working on a lot of things for the last 20 years to bring this league back out. So it's going to be interesting. The one thing
but
that
the first
XFL...
The first time someone gets hit really badly in this and someone gets hurt, it's just going to be a humongous backlash, and the XFL is going to have the same issues that the NFL has right now. It's not going to change, folks. The world isn't going to change. And half of the population's perspective on a matter isn't just going to change overnight. And I think that's going to be the XFL's biggest problem.
Yeah.
No matter how well they brand it, am I going to want to watch it? Of course. I'm going to want to watch big hits and everything. Everybody wants to see that. But nobody wants to see somebody get hurt. And that's when it becomes an issue. When someone gets seriously hurt, which it'll probably happen in the XFL before the NFL, that's almost a guarantee, the way they protect the players in that league now. It is a certainty that something will happen in the XFL that'll just be, over the top or whatever you want to call it. The one thing I remember about the XFL there were a lot of injuries. It was happening a lot, and for right cause, because they were allowing these players to do crazy things on the football field. Be very aggressive.
That's what I was going to say, is that the XFL is going to pride itself on, that old school type of nature of the NFL. They want the big hits. They want all of that, just like you were just saying. That's what they're going to pride themselves on. Now, the XFL did a lot of stuff for the NFL. To be totally honest with you, there's a lot of things that the XFL first brought out that the NFL uses now today. When you go to a game or you're watching the game, Sunday Night Football, and you see a camera that's flying over, these players on the field, the XFL brought that out first. The eye in the sky kind of, camera, the XFL brought that out first. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that the XFL, if you really look up, I think a perfect example is just watching the 30 for 30 that they had on the XFL. It was a great piece. If you haven't watched it, watch it. You'll see that there's a lot of things that the XFL brought out that first started that the NFL's using today. So I'm excited to see what the XFL brings out next year. How is this going to work? I'm happy that they have a New York team. The AAF doesn't have that. The AAF, you're looking at, first of all, I think they said 83% of the players in the Alliance of American Football were on a starting, we're on a roster in the NFL in the last 18 months. So you have teams, the Arizona Hotshots, the Atlanta Legends, the Birmingham Iron, Memphis Express, Orlando Apollos, Salt Lake Stallions, San Antonio Commanders, and the San Diego Fleet.
I think it just gives all these players a second opportunity. You got to remember, folks, that when these guys are in the NFL, everyone wants to see Christian Hackenberg and laugh about him, and he's not a good player. What is he doing playing it? This is his dream. Everyone's got dreams in this world. You have your own dreams at home. And, when you fail at your dreams, it's not a good feeling. And obviously the world knew that he failed, which doesn't make it better. But you think from just his own mindset and, how he feels. He just wants to play the game. He loves the game. He wants to get paid to play. So this, will turn out to be a second opportunity for him. Will it turn out for him? Only time will tell. But, credit to these players. And it's not just Hackenberg, it's all of them. They're all in the same boat. It's just Hackenberg's the biggest name.
Yeah.
And these players all they just want to play the game. Well, and you credit that, but at the same time, you got to appreciate the AAF for what they're doing right now. They're giving these players a second opportunity.
So when you're looking at these teams, and you want to see some of the notable names and stuff like that. The Arizona Hotshots, their coach is Rick Neuheisel. Their quarterback is Trevor Knight. A pretty, I wouldn't say well-known name, but a known name. The Atlanta Legends have Kevin Coyle as the coach. They have quarterback Aaron Murray, Matt Sims, and Stephen Hill, wide receiver Stephen Hill. He played for the Jets, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was pretty horrendous.
Remember the second-round picks that want to burn on fire that you guys see on the opening every day? That's what that was about.
Yeah. Birmingham Iron, their coach is Tim Lewis.
And Hackenberg. That's like
really Blake Sims, Scott Tolzien, Trent Richardson, probably the biggest name that everybody's talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Ja'Cory Shepard, Nick Novak. You have the Memphis Express. Their coach is Mike Singletary. Their quarterback is Christian Hackenberg. Another quarterback that they have is Zach Mettenberger. Zach Stacy is their running back. Chris Givens is their wide receiver. Orlando Apollos obviously have their coach Steve Spurrier. Their quarterback Garrett Gilbert. Another quarterback, Stephen Morris, wide receiver Frankie Hammond, and defensive back Will Hill. I think he played for the Giants, if I'm not totally whatever.
These are very recognizable names. Yeah. I recognize almost half these names that you're talking about right now. And any average football fan will tell you the same thing.
You look at the San Diego Fleet, Mike Martz is their coach. Josh Johnson is their quarterback. Bishop Sankey is their running back. There's a lot. I mean, you have Matt Asiata on the Stanley.
They're trying to get that second opportunity to be known and getting back into the NFL. All these players will tell you their dream is to play in it is a privilege to play in the National Football League, and they all know it.
And that's the thing. It's not like I feel like this.
They're the ones that grind.
Yeah, this league is not trying to make a name for themselves. Per se, I think it's more of because there is a connection between the NFL and this. This is that's the difference between the XFL and the AAF. The XFL, they're trying to make their own name. They're trying to be their own identity. The AAF is just trying to be a catalyst for players that aren't on a starting roster for the NFL and to make their name well known to NFL teams. This is a developmental league, I feel like, for the NFL. And Bill Polian is a co-founder of this, and I feel like that's what his goal was, to have a league where these, backups
he understands,
could start.
Bill Polian will tell you he is a GM of a national football team.
Yeah.
In a National Football League team.
Yeah.
And he's made these cuts to these players. Being the final cut for an NFL team is probably the most detrimental thing you'll ever experience. And I mean on both, and I mean on both
cuts.
Yeah, and I mean it on both sides of the interview, though. You know how hard it is as a GM or a coach to cut somebody.
That's work.
You know that they've worked. That's what I'm saying.
Ass off,
that's right. They've worked. They've worked their ass off. Yeah, is probably the best way to put it. To be able to get to there and to be able to cut them like that, it's tough. And I think that's why Bill Polian is a big part of this. I believe that the AAF, by not promoting themselves so crazily and not trying to be a burden to the NFL, I think it's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger on the basis of that.
Absolutely.
Without the effort, I think the XFL is going to put way too much effort to try to brand themselves. I feel like the AAF has barely done anything to brand themselves.
No.
Because between you and me, I had no idea this was existing up until a couple of weeks ago.
To be totally honest with you, when we did the show last week, I had no idea that games were going to be played.
Yeah, they were
Saturday.
That's because they weren't promoting it.
No, they weren't.
Because they figured in time people would just love to watch it.
As an NFL.
People would just love to watch it no matter what. As you could tell on Twitter and all this stuff, it's becoming a big thing. Everyone's talking about it, including ourselves.
You could just see that, football, is God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to American people, football's God.
Yep.
I mean, the AAF, teams that nobody knows of, players that barely anybody knows, they had better ratings than the Houston Rockets, and probably he's the reigning, and he's probably going to be this year's MVP, James Harden, playing up against his old team, the OKC Thunder, against Russell Westbrook, who before Harden was the MVP. That matchup did not match up to the AAF. The AAF beat them in ratings. And the NBA is on an upswing.
I think it's starting to balance out. I think with all the super teams, you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that the interest just isn't there for the NBA on the basis that just it's turning into a drama-filled league. You're hearing about all this stuff with LeBron and just the drama that follows that gentleman along, and he's just like the king of it. I mean, you want to call himself the king? You're the king of drama in the NBA. That's what you are, and everything you say, the tabloids are just having field days with, and then these other stories like you're talking about, him coming back to his old team, after going to another team, and this guy's making a superstar team. I'm done with the drama. I love basketball. I will watch college basketball, and the stories with college basketball are great. I think it's amazing. The tournament is beyond. That's what I can't wait for when it comes to basketball. When basketball comes to my mind, I don't think of the NBA. I think of college. I watch kids that are trying as hard as they can to be recognized, to make it to the NBA, because we talk about how difficult it is to make it to the NFL. The NBA is just as difficult, if not worse.
Before we move on from the NFL and before we get out of here, I wanted to I heard a clip from a radio show. Eric Winston, who's a part of the NFL union, he was on, and he was talking about just the status of the NFL, because the contract, CBA contract, is up in 2021. So we got 2 more years for that. So he basically, before we get out of here, I just wanted to play the clip that.
And I promise you, folks, next week I will have my opinions on the basis of this clip.
Yeah, and just going by the title of this show, could the NFL be threatened? And I think this is. This could be a problem for the NFL. This is Eric Winston on the radio.
I'd say the question that fans care most about that's facing your union is, there's 2 more years guaranteed under the current CBA. How would you characterize the chances that we miss football in some form or fashion in 2021?
I don't know, 43.4%? I don't know. It's one of those things where, if there's, and I've always done this ever since I got on it, so I'm going to meet everybody halfway, but that's got to be reciprocated, right? And so, I think at some point down the road here, we're going to get together with ownership, and we're going to see if we can figure it out. Nobody wants that, but I also know that this is a copycat league, and if someone sees something and thinks it's successful, they're going to copy it. So I'm also charged with getting my guys ready, and getting my guys ready means educating them on what a lockout looks like, what a strike looks like, what a work stoppage looks like, and getting them prepared. And hopefully, if we can prepare for the worst and be prepared and show the other side that this is, that we're ready to roll, then obviously that prevents it. So I don't think anybody wants a work stoppage, but at the end of the day, we're telling our guys and we're explaining to our guys, history has a tendency to repeat itself, and so you got to be ready.
So he's basically telling players to be ready for a lockout. So now, what I was saying is, could the NFL be threatened by by these 2 leagues? And now it's like, all right, well, if they have a lockout, what's the chances that a player is just like, oh, you know what, maybe I'll just go, actually play in the AAF? What if I, like...
The AAF. I think,
or the XFL.
Like I talked about, I think the AAF is more affiliated with the NFL.
Well, yeah, but...
So I think that's all going to be connected with, but I personally think that when the XFL, if they were smart, and, I'll get more into this next week, I could go on for a while about this whole topic. Yeah. The XFL will be there for these players, so it'll be a very difficult bargaining chip for the Players Association come 2021. And honestly, if I was the XFL, I would open my doors
absolutely
the day after those negotiations.
And Vince McMahon's going to do that.
I know.
That's the way that he works his business.
You don't want to play the NFL? So, no problem. We have another league for you, and we'll pay you.
Much better.
If the ratings come in and the people come to watch these games, the XFL will be making money, especially if big names start going in there.
They have a team in all of the top, cities in the United States. Also, they're playing in NFL stadiums.
Yep.
The AAF's playing in college stadiums. So the XFL has a lot to bring to the table for an NFL player. So 2021 is going to be interesting. Next week we'll talk more on this. I'll bring out this clip again, and we'll probably have another 20-minute conversation on that, like we did with the Islanders earlier in this show.
And of course there might be more Islander talk if they continue to play like this.
I mean,
I promise you that.
If I have to say that they're first place New York Islanders, I mean, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. So, if you don't like the Islanders, you better start liking them. But altogether, we got into everything. We'll get into also Kyler Murray's decision next week too. We wanted to talk about that, but we're gonna bring more draft talk. We got time to talk about the draft. We got plenty of time to talk about the draft, and who knows, maybe next week we'll have Harper signed, and maybe Manny Machado. We'll talk about that too.
Probably not.
But that will do it for today's show. Remember to go to SeatGiant.com, type in RUTS Sports to save on tickets. Also, go to flavorliving.com or Go Flavor Go TV. Check us out on that. You can check us out on everything. I mean, we're on everything. The cool new thing is sportscaster.com. There's no E in that, so it's just sports and then CASTR.com. We're in the leaderboard of that. We're in the top 16. So that's exciting too. People are watching. People are listening.
Thank you.
We make a difference. But that will do it for today's show. We'll be back next week, Saturday morning, once again. I'm Jerry.
I'm Kevin.
Be breezy.
Be breezy.
And it is all over! You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.